The Glock 19X is a pistol originally designed for the US military's MHS program to find a replacement for their aging M9 pistol. MHS stands for Modular Handgun System, and without getting into too much detail, each entry pistol had to fulfill a set of requirements by the Army to win the bid. We all know how that ended, and I'm sorry Glock fans out there. Your boy lost. And the winner of that contract went to SIG's P320, which now is officially called the M17 by the US military. However, why waste a perfectly good design, right? After a few changes though, Glock did decide to release the 19X to the civilian market to huge success. At first though, if you look at the gun, it does look a little weird. It's got a compact slide with a full-size frame. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the old P7 from H&K. Kind of's got that same feel to it. And a nail gun. Short top, kind of heavy looking bottom. The Glock 19X is, well, what you would call maybe a Gen 4.5. Not fully a bona fide Gen 5 because that would be the Glock 45. And that's only out in the real steel world. There's no such thing in the airsoft world yet. But how does it stack up against the Glock 19? Because the Glock 19 has been a category-defining product for Glock. Kind of like how the M3 is a category-defining car in the automotive world. The first and the king of the hill when it comes to the sports sedan. The question we are facing today is if you have one of the other airsoft Glocks already, and seeing how the 19X is so well received in the real steel world, how do those changes translate into the airsoft world? And going back to what I said before, if you had one of the other airsoft Glocks, would it be worth getting the 19X? Well, I guess we're gonna find out today. At first glance, this gun comes standard in this sand/tan color, which was by request by the US military. If you want it in black, like Bruce Wayne, then you're gonna either get it Cerakoted or hope Glock makes one someday. And if they do, please Glock, or Umarex, make the Glock 45, please. It also sports all standard aesthetics that we come to associate with Glock, from its boxy slide, trigger safety, and distinct grip angle. Some of my good friends compare the Glock's ergonomic to that of a brick. Bricks are, well, predictable and a bit square. The 19X is a combination of both the Glock 19 and the Glock 17, which kind of makes the Glock 19, well, I hate to say it, kind of like the incestual child between these two. And for the sake of this comparison, I'm going to pitch it against the Glock 19, which I would assume to be its mom, to see if the Glock 19X can outshine the Glock 19. Putting aside the color differences, both the Glock 19 and the Glock 19X are the same length, but there are some subtle differences. The first thing you're going to notice is right up front. The 19X has a beveled front right here on the slide and on the frame, whereas the Glock 19 is squared. A small aesthetic change that kind of almost plays tricks on your eye, thinking that the gun is even shorter than what it really is. But most importantly, it helps with holstering. The next thing you will notice are the additional markings even on the sights, and this attention to detail really gives the 19X a very high-end feel. Very good. Being a fully licensed gun, it has all the corresponding markings on the slide, the frame, the barrel, and right here on the magazine base, which I think is especially well done in concealing the gas charge valve. While we're on the topic of the magazine and the charge valve, how do you access that, you may ask? Now there's a tab right here on the bottom of the magazine. Take that tab, pull it down, then the base plate, you push it forward to access the charge valve. Just that simple. It's a piece of cake. Now, let's talk about that frame. The checkering on the frame is also slightly different and looks more akin to those you see on the Gen 4 guns, which I so happen to have one right here. You can see that from this angle, the Gen 4 Glock 17 frame is about the same size as the Glock 19, well, minus the finger grooves, of course. And while we're on the frame, check out how the Glock 19X features ambidextrous slide release. This side, and this side, you got nothing over there. The Glock 19X also has a nifty little lanyard loop right here. You can also release this lanyard loop. Take out the magazine, there is a little tab here. You press in and pull out. If you look up there, I just did it for you. Internally, the 19X is using VFC's latest blowback and hop-up technology, which would lead me to assume that it would shoot better than both the Gen 3 and the Gen 4 Glock. Well, that's what I'm assuming, at least, being the latest offering from their assembly line. For starters, the 19X uses a dual recoil system, much like that seen on the Glock 17 Gen 4. The new hop-up system also makes its debut on the 19X, making adjustments on the fly much easier than before. You don't even have to remove the slide to do so. To adjust this hop-up, take an Allen key, you put it right here at the front, where the guide rod is. Put that in there, and you can adjust to your heart's content. Listen to that. It also has got some clicking sounds to it. No longer needing to take the slide off. Finally, I want to show you guys some magazine compatibility. Glock 19, Glock 17 Gen 4. Now, with the Glock 19, you'll be able to fit the 19X magazine just fine. A little bit extra sticks out the bottom, but I don't think anybody really ever cared. You take the Glock 17 magazine, and that fits just fine. I mean, if you don't mind having a black magazine in your tan frame gun, of course. So now that we have all three guns here, wouldn't it just make sense that if you're looking for a compact pistol, you would choose the Glock 19? And if you want something full size and full combat capability, you'd naturally gravitate to the Glock 17. So is there really a point to the Glock 19X? Because the moment you draw or pick up this 19X, it immediately makes sense why Glock made this. Being designed to be a competitor in the MHS program, it was designed to be a pistol that you could fight with and carry comfortably. The full-size frame with the lack of finger grooves really facilitate a wider range of hand sizes because, you have to appeal to the lowest common denominator and the masses. And with that in mind, the slightly shorter barrel does make carrying this pistol much less cumbersome, even in airsoft. It's really the best of both worlds. It's having your cake and eating it too. Meanwhile, across the hills from Austria, the Germans were not gonna sit on their hands and watch their Austrian friends eat cake. They decided to make something to keep Glock on their toes. Something more beautiful. Something different, but the same. This is the H&K VP9. H&K is no stranger to making striker-fired pistols, and this is their latest offering, the VP9. Upon its release in 2014, it is said that it's been in development for 4 years already, and it does certainly exude everything we've come to know about H&K. I've done a review on this pistol some time ago, so if you want to check out that, click on the card above, or you can find the link in the description below. If you want, watch it before we continue. Let's just state the obvious right off the bat. The VP9 was designed to beat Glock at its own game. They're both polymer frame pistols, they're both striker fired. The VP9 looks and also feels like it's a little bit more user-friendly than your household brick. The VP9 also looks a little bit more handsome, and it has a standard Picatinny rail for accessories instead of just your regular accessory notch that Glock uses. So all in all, it makes the VP9 an incredibly attractive package, or an alternative to the old Glock. All of that's well and good, but does the airsoft version translate? And will the airsoft VP9 give the Glock 19X a run for its money? I guess we're about to find out. You know what's funny? All these three guns that we're going to be comparing today, the Glock 19, the 19X, and of course the VP9, they're all made by Umarex. Or for you guys back stateside, Elite Force, and of course VFC. It's essentially going to Walmart or going to any other supermarket and looking at all the different types of shampoo out there to see which is your favorite, just to realize they're all made by Procter & Gamble, old P&G. Just let that sink in for a bit. I know what you're thinking. Ideally, I should be pitting the 19X against the SIG M17. And I would love to have done that if there was a fully licensed and official version for me to do so. And once the official version comes out and I get my hands on it, I will definitely put it through its paces and review the 19X right next to the M17. It's also going to be made by VFC. And if judging by pattern, how the 19s came out and it was a slightly better system over the VP9 because VFC always tries to improve their systems, I would theorize that the M17 could potentially outperform the 19X. Or will it? But that's a topic for another day. Now it's time for us to do a bunch of shooting, and we're going to pit these guns against each other with 4 different parameters. Number 1, we're going to test FPS and FPS consistency. Number 2, we're going to test gas efficiency. How many full magazines can each gun shoot off of 1 full charge of gas? And then we're going to talk about general accuracy. After that, overall feeling, meaning trigger, recoil impulse, and of course, the most important, gripping and handling of the gun. Which one of these are going to come out on top? Let's get right into it, starting with our contender, the Glock 19X. I'm using 0.2 gram BBs and green gas for all 3 pistols. We're going to start with the Glock 19, and seeing that this has the shorter mag, I don't expect too much out of it. But we will see. I'm going to shoot at that target down there. Don't mind the holes. We just wanted to have something to show you guys we're actually shooting BBs out of the gun. One mag. Two mags. 3 mags. 3 3/4 of a mag. Next up, the VP9. VP9. That has a much heavier recoil impulse. Two mags! Who would have thunk? Now to the 19X. And just to give you guys a quick recap, the 19 shot 3 1/4 mags. VP9 shot only 2. Let's see where the 19X sits. Okay. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. And there was still just a little bit of gas left. And that was it. There was not enough gas to push any more BBs out, but there was still gas to cycle the slide. 5 full magazines off of 1 charge. I think we have our gas efficiency winner for sure. Now let's go talk about accuracy. So now it's time for the accuracy test. And instead of standing a little close, I want to stand further away from that target. I feel like this is a substantial distance away for a pistol where you can really stretch out its legs and see how accurate these pistols are. I'm starting with the Glock 19. After I shoot, I also want to give you my feelings on all 3 guns. Less talking, more shooting. The Glock 19 is an incredibly shootable gun. I've shot a few real Glock 19s before, and those real guns are also very shootable. This airsoft gun is no different. The trigger breaks clean, the recoil impulse is great, the sights are easy to read. I do like the compact frame as well. It doesn't hamper the shooting experience too much. My hands aren't super big anyways. Let's go take a look at how accurate the gun was. I did see that I missed a couple shots. For such a short barrel, the Glock 19 did land a considerable amount of shots right here inside the circle. And a lot of those landed right here in the inner portion, kind of on Quake's face. I'm very surprised with how accurate the Glock 19 is, even from a fair amount of distance away. Yeah, there were some that landed outside and I did miss a couple shots, but overall, for such a compact gun, I'm impressed. So I'm waiting to see how the 19X is going to fare. Next up is going to be the VP9. VP9. The VP9 has always been incredibly comfortable to grip. The trigger, compared to the Glock, is going to be a little bit on the stiff side, and it was just a little bit hard to get a good read on where my holdover should be on this VP9. The sights, I would say, are a little bit better than what I had on the Glock 19. The recoil was very strong. Let's see how it translated downrange in terms of accuracy. Like I said, it was a little hard for me to get a good read of where my holdover should have been, shooting all the way from back there. And that translated to these slight inaccuracies right here on the target. There were some good hits, like right here under Quake's eye, one on his lip, one on his cheek. A lot of them did land on the outside of the circle, but I do have to say, the VP9, as is just right now, maybe needs a little bit of break-in period, but as it sits right now, the Glock 19 is a little bit more accurate than the VP9. Now the 19X. I have high hopes for you, buddy. The ergonomics on the 19X is what you'd expect from any Glock, but the doing away of the finger grooves really makes this gun so much better to shoot compared to the Glock 19, even to what I can remember the Glock 17. I do like the VP9's higher beaver tail, and I do like the ergonomics a little bit more on the VP9, but this thing shot extremely well. The trigger reset was hard and crisp and easy to feel, and it felt consistent with every trigger pull. The slide cycled really snappily, and it was a very good amount of recoil. Now let's see if all of that transferred well over there. My suspicions were right about the Glock 19X. As you can see, there were many more shots that landed on the... My suspicions about the Glock 19X were completely spot on. A lot of the shots landed within the circle. I think there's only 1, 2, 3, and I think that last shot that I totally whiffed on, that missed. Everything else landed inside the circle, with a lot of them landing within this diameter right here. Extremely consistent. The Glock 19X is the most accurate pistol out of all three. And another interesting and highly educational shooting session right here on RedWolf TV. But before we get into our final conclusion, if you haven't checked out the review I did for the Glocks, go ahead and click on the card above, or you can find the links in the description below, where you'll also find links to the VP9 if you didn't already watch that. Now, let's get into what we just saw. So do you guys remember the 4 criteria that we tested these guns by? First one was FPS and FPS consistency. The second was gas efficiency. The third one was going to be general accuracy. And the fourth, which is the all-encompassing one, was going to be the general feeling of these guns. In terms of FPS consistency, the 19 and the 19X were very similar in terms of where their FPS deviations were. The VP9 had the highest FPS, but its deviation was much higher than the 19X or the Glock 19. What really surprised me during the gas efficiency test wasn't the fact that the Glock 19 could shoot 3 3/4 mags of gas off of one full charge. No. That's what not surprised me. What surprised me was the VP9 could only shoot 2 mags. That is what surprised me. The Glock 19X being their new system, it doesn't surprise me at all that it shot so many mags through and still had a little bit of gas left, but of course not enough to push BBs out the barrel. So a good 5 mags full of gas. I'd say pretty darn good. Now for the accuracy portion, I'm sure you guys all know which one won this. Now for the accuracy portion, I'm sure all of you guys know which one took the crown. It was the 19X. Though the 19 put up a very honorable fight, the 19X just really took the cake and ran with it on this one. Again, slightly disappointed with the VP9. The sights I felt were better sights. The ergonomics I felt were better ergos. The recoil was great, but I felt that it just had a few things working against it. Namely, probably its need to break in a little bit and its a little bit heavier trigger. Finally, the feeling, like I just mentioned, I really do enjoy the ergonomics of the VP9, and if I had to just do a blind choice between all 3 of these, I would automatically gravitate to this gun simply because I enjoy the higher beaver tail for me to get a higher purchase on the gun. Even though it does have finger grooves, they are a little wider than what's seen on the Glock 19. Not to say that the 19X is uncomfortable to grip, because the moment they did away with those finger grooves, you just felt like this gun was so much easier to grip and handle. And it also worked in conjunction with its very clean trigger. That angle with that clean trigger break just made the 19X feel like a much better gun to shoot than the VP9. The VP9, even though it had incredible ergonomics, the trigger is just a little too heavy. And the 19, well, I felt like it's a little too squishy. The 19X trigger is really responsive, it's very consistent, the brake is really clean, and every time you squeeze one off, it goes. And it just feels like the more natural gun to shoot. So, all in all, out of these 3, I do prefer the 19X. And what does this teach us? That really does show us the fact that VFC, Umarex, each gun and each generation that they come out with, they're improving upon the product, starting with the VP9, which is the older gun. Then it came to the Glocks, and now it culminates right here with the 19X as the better product. Are there things I don't like about the Glock 19X? There certainly are. For starters, I don't like that lip here. It just makes reloading feel a little clunky. That I just don't feel like I have a comfortable reloading position for my finger to go. Second thing is, I really would have wished these controls here on the slide release were a little bit bigger. So it's easier for me to either hold the slide back when I need to do any kind of work or clearing this gun, or even just releasing the slide. I felt like they're just a little small. Of course, nowadays everybody's into power stroking anyways, and you put that magazine in and you rack that slide back. But for those of us with bigger hands that don't like to do that and want to use your fine motor skills, I just wish that it was a little bit bigger. I know what you're thinking. You haven't compared it to every Glock 19 there is. And while the Tokyo Marui G Series Model 19 is a fantastic gun, I've shot it, and because it's an unlicensed product, I just can't shoot it on film here for you guys. But take my word for it, I have shot it. It's incredibly snappy. The system is great. Some consider it the world's premier leading system for gas blowback pistols. And at times, I would agree with you. But in this situation, if you're looking at out-of-the-box performance, what you get, yes, it's a snappy gun, but it's also a plastic slide. And prolonged use under green gas, you are going to damage that. Whereas the 19X, you already get a metal slide right out of the box, and it's designed to shoot green gas right out of the box. With the TM, you can definitely get it to work with green gas, but what you're gonna have to do at the end of the day is you might have to upgrade your slide and your recoil spring just to make sure it works properly and cycles like how it's supposed to. So you're gonna end up spending a little bit more money for something that you can already have out of the box with the Glock 19X. If it's anything else, like for example, upgrade possibilities, the ability to just do all this kind of aftermarket stuff, absolutely, TM has probably everybody beat. But in this situation and in this instance in which we're talking about out of the box performance, I would definitely take the Glock 19X over the Tokyo Marui G Series Model 19. Sorry, Tokyo Marui guys out there, don't get butthurt. I'm just saying that if it's out of the box performance, you are getting a lot of gun right here. Personally, if it was up to me and I was gonna have to skirmish outside, I would go for a Glock 17. You do get a little bit extra FPS out of it compared to the 19, even though the 19X is a fantastic gun to get right out of the box and you can go and kick some butt. But how it's designed to be carried comfortably, especially in a concealed environment, there's really no need for that in airsoft. And if you are concealing an airsoft gun outside, I would say just stop that. But what matters is when you're in a shootout, when you're in a gunfight, you have the added capacity, right? You're in this compact size gun for you to keep fighting without constantly having to reload. And of course, the collector side of me really wants a gun that looks, feels, functions, shoots as similarly and as closely to the real thing as I can, down to the trigger pull. And I feel like on these two aspects, the Glock 19X really delivers, and it delivers hard. So at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, well, I already have one of the old airsoft Glocks. Should I get one of these? Well, if you have one and you're not really looking for almost like a hybrid pistol, I'd say think about it. However, if you're looking for the latest in airsoft blowback and pistol technology, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Umarex Glock 19X. Now, what do you think? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section below. I'm pretty sure some of you out there will be like, no, the TM is better. And again, on certain aspects, I'll absolutely agree with you. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And if you want cool products like this and many more, don't forget to check out our online store at www.redwolfairsoft.com. My name is Mark, aka Blue Steel, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode of RedWolf TV. Like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe.